Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bikini in the Brain with the lovely Ashley Cotwalser and the Olympia Ashley Cotwalser today. Look at you, red and black Olympia jacket.
Hi.
Starting to get the feels for it already, huh?
Yeah, you know. Still got how many months to Olympia? A lot.
Yeah, 6 months.
6 months. Okay,
Yeah.
6 months out from Olympia.
Oh, I did the math today. It's 24 weeks exactly. Yeah, so it's 6 months. 24
Okay.
weeks today. Yeah,
Cool. 6 months out, everyone.
Yeah,
6 months out.
6 months to go. So, how's your weekend, Ashley?
It was pretty good. It was pretty busy, I'd say. I went to the Jay Cutler show in Vegas, and then I attended the seminar on Sunday, which was Easter. Happy Easter, everyone.
Yeah, Sandy was doing it with you on Easter Sunday seminar, and
yeah, a lot of our Vegas athletes were there. Yeah, and coaches and
yeah, it was so I went to the show on Saturday too. Jay Cutler put on a good show. It was a great show. Shout out to Cult Fitness too. They had a whole group of us there. That was fun, and yeah, they're doing good things over there. So if you're in Vegas, you got to check that place out.
Yes.
Anyway, today we're gonna keep going with our questions, which have been leading to really good episodes, fun episodes for us.
Wait a minute.
What's that?
I have to backtrack here, Adam.
Do you?
Yeah, I got to call you out. Speaking of the show last weekend.
What happened?
How do you not know?
I don't know. What are you talking about? I have no idea what you're talking about.
You gave me the Irish goodbye.
Oh, where did you go last night? Yeah, where did you go?
It's my fault now. It's my fault. Yeah.
You and Mike, I didn't see it. Then Mike,
yeah.
You know what's worse though? Well, Mike texted me. He said, "Sorry, I didn't see you before I leave." You know what? Morgan was there, the pro competitor, and I haven't seen her. And then she was like, I was waiting. I was trying to get to her the whole time. And then when I went back to go see her the first time, Matt was back there, manager Matt. And so we started talking, and then Fit Model started. So I like ran to the front, and I didn't see her the whole show. I didn't see her. She's like behind us. And because we're with Colt, I was up in the front, and she like couldn't get to us. So I felt so bad. And so I like ran back to talk to her. And then I saw her, Tori came over, and then Russ Allen from Denver was there. So we did this group. And then by the time we got done talking, you were gone. And I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna get shit for that.
I thought you were I thought you sprinted to your vehicle when the show was over.
I was there for like 45 minutes. I don't know, how did we walk out and you not even see me?
I was looking for you.
I should give you the Irish goodbye because I was there. I was there.
I mean,
I didn't leave. I didn't leave.
Stray away.
I didn't leave. I don't know. But I didn't even text you or anything after that, which is bad because then I should have known when Mike texted me. I should have known. Oh crap! I didn't even say bye to Ashley, which I did know, and I was like, I didn't even say bye to Ashley. But
it's okay. I do it all the time.
I was there.
I do that all the time to everyone, though.
Like 5 witnesses.
I hate saying goodbye. You know, I don't like saying goodbye. Anywho,
I do apologize for that. You're right. That's called an Irish goodbye.
I thought so.
They do that in Ireland?
Basically, the idea of what I thought it was, correct me if I'm wrong, is you say, "Oh, I'm going to the bathroom," and then you just leave. So it's kind of like that, but you didn't ask to go to the bathroom.
That's
say you're going to the bathroom.
That's funny. I didn't know that was a thing. That's funny.
Yep.
Have you ever? This is funny. Have you ever done that on a date or anything like that? Like in your single date?
I don't think that's something you do on a date. You do
like,
that
what
at
if it's
a party.
really bad or the guy's like, you've never done anything like that?
No, I mean, that would be so rude. I've never done that. I've done that at parties or events like this. I would totally do that.
I've done that.
I always say when I retire, that's how I'll do it. I'll just be like, yeah, I can't wait to Olympia and just never show up. You know what I mean? That's how that will be. But because I just don't like saying goodbye, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I do. I understand. I understand it. You know, I get that. I've done that at parties before where I just didn't want to be there or somewhere. And I'm like, oh, well, I don't think about it as like being rude or anything. I think about it as like perceived time invested at that place. So like if I leave right now, they know I leave right now. But if they don't realize I'm gone for 90 minutes, it's almost like I was there the whole time. Yeah. And it's like perceived time. Oh yeah, Adam came and he was here for a while. I didn't see him when he left, but I'm sure he was here. So it's like you like sneak out the back kind of thing, you know? So it's the value, save myself time, but still get the credit, you know? So, all right, that was fun. All right. So first question came in from Olivia Joy. Her question is, if you could change anything back to how it used to be with Bikini, what would you pick? Good one. Spicy one.
Spicy one. Putting me on the spot here now. So I would say probably just how muscular it got. And I think it's apparent because they created another division for that. But I don't want it to sound like a complaint because ultimately, I was able to keep up with it, but a lot of people weren't. It kind of turned into something a little different than what I think it initially was intended to be. But I think that happened with all the divisions, I would say.
Yeah.
They all got a little bigger, but I think the common idea amongst all divisions, well, from the girls I've talked to, is they're like, let's hope it doesn't get any bigger with even just bikini and figure and everything. And I'm sure bodybuilding is just like whatever, they don't care. I mean, I don't know. I don't talk to the bodybuilders, so I couldn't say. But so I think if there would be that one thing, it would be that. But again, I cannot complain because it worked in my favor somehow, So no complaints on my end. But if I were to choose, that would be it.
Yeah, I would say all of my complaints have pretty much been resolved from the fit model division.
Yes, there's the solution.
Yeah, but those would have been all my complaints. That
Yeah.
would have been like, hey, you're getting too big. You're ostracizing like 90% of the bikini competitors that could be bikini are now not big enough for bikini, and it's very rare that someone can keep up with the rate at what you're progressing. So that would have been my complaint, which, I was complaining about it. So for 2 years, I was probably one of the most vocal about it because I think, and I would say, probably, I guess if I have to give a complaint, I'll give a complaint, because the one thing I will say, because how bikini got to that stage, was that a lot of these judges that are, I would say more so on the male side, definitely more so on the male side than on the female side. I think it's the difference is the judges who are female understand how hard it is to get that big, and the judges that are male who've never coached women before. And I think that's the difference, is like, if you've coached women before, you understand, okay, when you say to me, hey, get a little bit more tie-in, give her a little bit more tie-in, or she needs more tie-in, or more this, like, I'm like, I get what you're saying, because you think it's a little bit as a judge, because that has never coached any women before. I'm like, but what you're asking for is so much more. It's not like they say, oh, just get a little more tie-in, she needs more tie-in or whatever. And I'm like, I get what you're saying from your perspective, because as a bodybuilder, as a man, it's, if you want to get more detail on your hamstrings or whatever, not that hard. It's like, I mean, it's hard, but it's not the same for women on their hardest area of them to lose fat, to get that fat to disappear. It's different. It's like for guys, the equivalent would be like the lower outside of their back. Like if it was just holding a little bit, it's like, hey, you got to get rid of all of that. It's the last bit of fat to go. It's like, it's almost like, hey, get rid of that fat in between your toes. And it's like, how do I get rid of that fat in between like, they don't understand. I would say that's the hard part for, I would love it if the guys who were judges like went through and understood how it is to prep a female to get those tie-ins and to get that detail. Because it's not the same as guys. Like, girls just don't get as lean as guys. It's just they naturally carry more body fat. When you look at the percentages of like a guy's chart versus a women's chart, it's totally different. So that would be probably my one complaint, is that hopefully they're starting to understand that a little bit better now, because when they're saying, hey, we're always going to award more muscularity, it puts the coaches in a bad spot, because they have to go with what's being awarded. So then it's, what are you going to do? It's like, well, we have to put them out more muscular, or else you're not going to award us. We're not going to win. Like, so it's like, well, that's what, and then the judges will be like, well, that's what you're bringing to the stage, so we have to award what you're bringing to the stage. And I'm like, well, no, we're bringing it to the stage because that's what you're rewarding. And it's this constant circle of like, well, you say you award bigger, so we get them bigger. You award leaner, so we get them leaner. And then the judges are like, well, you guys get them leaner, and that's all you bring to the stage, and you bring them bigger, and that's all you bring to the stage. So we have to go with what we pick. And I'm like, circle, circle, circle. And the girls that are paying for it is you. And you're just like doing what my coach says, and I'm doing what the judges say. And it's like this whole thing. And that happens, that evolution like kind of occurs from, I do believe, from mostly male judges who are like, oh, that girl's got a little bit more. Well, that girl's got a little bit more. We're going to give her the win because she has a little bit more, and she has a little bit more. And it's always that's always how it got to this point. It's always like, and you talk to them like, well, she had a little bit more of this. And I'm like, you do a little bit more for 10 years and you end up with, bikini that is basically the amount of muscle with figure, which is leaner than figure used to be, with more glutes than figure ever had. Right. So it's like this, it's almost this hybrid division now of a bikini figure with more glutes and bikini posing. If you looked at it from 15 years ago or whatever, 12 years ago, you'd be like, oh, why is that figure girl doing bikini posing? That's what you would look at. And why does that figure girl got such big glutes? What's the purpose? Why does she need such big glutes? So that'd kind of be what it was. So that would be my complaint, would be that. But I do think with the fit model division, I think that they solved the problem. And I pray that they don't turn fit model into bikini in 10 years. And then bikini is just full on women's physique in 10 years. Because if it just evolves with like how the judges have historically picked a little bit more, that's what will happen again.
Yeah.
And then they'll come up with a new division called, I don't know what they'll call it, the fit model. They'll call it like beach fit model or something. You know what I mean? I don't know what they'll call it.
Yeah.
So that, I would say that's the one hole. And one thing I will say too, from like, there's a few guy judges that really get it, that really understand that it's tough for women to put on as much muscle. It's like tough for them to come in as hard. And if we're asking a little bit more, it's actually a lot more once we're at this stage. It's not like they're asking, oh, hey, go from 19% body fat down to 17%. That's not like crazy. But when you're asking someone to go from, 14, 13 to 11 or 12 and to get those times to show up, it's a totally different thing. You're talking about 6 more weeks of dieting. Like it's, another year of gaining muscle in the glutes. Like it's a different thing, so that would be probably my one, if that was a little ranty, but that would be my one. And I think it's just that because some of these guys aren't coaches, they look at it and like, oh, just put a little bit more muscle on her, no biggie, she'll be fine. And I'm like, no, dude, you just asked for 2 years of work. Like I know you think it's like a month. It's like minimum 6 months, 8 months of work, what you just asked for. It's not, you know what I mean? It's not it's a different thing, so that would be it. But yeah, I think the fit model will solve that. Yes. And I think that judges are understood now, hey, we pushed the division past where it was really supposed to be. We had to create a new division. And so far that we had our Miss Olympia figure go to the division of bikini. Like how much more do we need info wise to know, hey, we went a little far with it. And so I think that now they've gotten it. And I think that the people up top, specifically like Tyler and Sandy, they've been like, hey guys, like this is what we're going to do. I love that they're doing videos now. I really like that they're doing like video recaps too, because they didn't do that before. And I think that judges kept awarding more and more and more, but now like Tyler does his video and it's like, hey, this is too much. This is, this girl's a little bit big in the shoulders. Like this girl's, so then the judges also be like, okay, if he's saying that's too much, I would have told her to do more in the shoulders. Now they're saying, okay, I got a clear understanding of and I think it'll stop. I think everyone that's afraid it's going to grow, I think it'll stop. And I've heard him do this in multiple divisions too. So I'm happy to hear that too. He did it in men's physique the other day. He did it in bikini the other day with like top pros. And so I think that we have stopped seeing that, because I think he's putting a good, like, hey, this is the criteria. This is as far as it should go. So I think we're in a good spot now. I think we're in good hands now.
Yeah. I think that is very, very helpful for even just the up and coming athletes, just to get a good idea of everything too. Because it is a tricky sport and sometimes you don't catch these little things off the bat. And, to the untrained eye, I can throw up my photo from now to like 8 years ago and someone will say, I don't see a difference, So sometimes it's hard to catch these little things, but over time, I think it does. Like when you get a pool of really impressive athletes and one is maybe a little bit more impressive by the way of a little more muscle, that can kind of budge everything. So I don't think, this happens like very slowly over time, probably without realizing, right? Everyone brings a really good package. So it's so hard to pick the winner. So as the talent pool gets deeper, someone's got to win, and that's going to be the most impressive. So I can see over time how that happened, but it's funny that we kind of were with it. We kind of grew with the division here. And up until last year, I was like too small for bikini, so I'm happy I'm finally big enough now for bikini.
It was nice to not hear those comments after the show.
Yes. So again, I can't complain because I'm in a good spot here for myself. But I think when athletes start to see the differences between fit model and bikini, they can really separate and see what they need to do for their division. So yeah, all good things, and shout out to the league for finding a solution to the problem.
Yeah, I'm super happy about it. And it gives a lot of girls an opportunity to compete way sooner too. Because a lot of these girls, I'm like, they would start like, yeah, I want to do bikini. And I'm like, it's like a 5-year physique where you're at, like they're like, oh, I want to compete in June like of like 20, 30. Yeah, we could have you, if you want to be competitive, like it's a lot of muscle we
It
got to
is.
build.
You know, if my 2015 self would have looked at my 2000 current or 2025 current self, I would have been very intimidated, you know, because
Yeah.
like, whoa, whoa. But, you know, as I grow with it, it doesn't seem that big of a deal because it's slow growth over time. But yeah, just the comparisons is it's quite startling.
Yeah, and I like that Fit Model has like a growth, like a division to grow to, you know, because you don't really have a division to grow to in bikini. Like most bikini girls don't want to do figure. They just like bikini, you know, and it's
Or wellness. Too.
yeah, and they're not able to get to wellness, right? So it's not like the natural growth path, you know. You kind of just, okay, I need to max out bikini and I need to, you know, eventually max out bikini. Luckily, it's pretty hard to max out bikini, so they kind of stay there. But it's not, there's not like a growth, yeah, like you said, like a growth path. Like in the guys, every division is a growth path. You know, men's physique can grow to classic, classic can grow to bodybuilding, you know, classic can grow to 212, 212 grow to bodybuilding. Like, so it's every division makes sense because you're just kind of just getting bigger along the way. It's not like, oh, you need to change your physique so much. Like a figure to bikini physique is pretty different in terms of, you know, the lat width, the glute development's totally different on both. But for men's physique to, if they're training their legs, which they should be, it doesn't not really that much difference to go to classic to 212 to bodybuilding. So, but for Fit Model to bikini, it's not going to be, you're going to be training the same muscles. So a lot of the girls that I'm talking to now, they're hesitant about doing Fit Model only because they eventually want to do bikini. And so they say, well, is my workout plan going to be like totally more geared towards Fit Model? And then that's going to keep me from doing bikini eventually because I'm not training hard enough or not training the right muscles for a bikini. And I'm like, no, it's the same. It's like the same things in Fit Model and bikini. It's just a more advanced physique in bikini than it is Fit Model. So if you're training for bikini and you happen to be Fit Model, well, you keep training for bikini and you're doing Fit Model and eventually you become bikini, but it's going to take a pretty, you know, it's going to take some time to get to that bikini physique. But I always say, hey, I'd rather you be at the cap of the one division than at the bottom of the other division in terms of your muscle development. I'd much rather, like me too, as a former competitor, I would much rather have been the biggest men's physique guy could have been at the cap than the smallest classic physique guy, right? Like, why not take advantage of that? So if you're in that scenario and you're kind of debating on yourself if you're too muscular for a Fit Model, well, if you're too much for a Fit Model, you got to do bikini, right? But if you're just like still just at that peak range, I'd say, hey, run it up, you know, go on that sun run and do your shows as Fit Model, go to nationals, get your pro card, and then, hey, take a year off, go to bikini after that, whatever. But take advantage of that, of being at the top of a division versus the bottom of another, I would say. So yeah.
Good stuff.
And with that, this actually leads us into a good question on the next one, which will give us a good understanding of where is capped out for bikini, right? So how tall are you and your weight on stage?
So I'm 5'5". And as far as my weight, I weigh myself like 2 or 3 times a year.
It's terrible.
2 or 3 times a year. So it's going to be a more of an estimation. I think I was probably like 124 on stage this year. Previously, maybe like a 122, 121 sometimes. Maybe I'm not, these are just estimations for real. I definitely came in fuller this last year as they wanted me to be. And, you know, a little more more carb ups and stuff like that. So, you know, who knows, you know, who knows what my actual stage weight was, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah. I would say 124 on Olympia day. You're round and full, exactly what they're looking for. Yeah. So yeah. And then on the smallest you've ever been on stage was 119-ish.
Yeah.
Not if you don't go back to like 2017, like 119-ish, but most of the time in the low mid 120s. And that's stage lean though. So that's a different thing. 5'5" stage lean, semi, would you say? I say petite build, petite medium.
I would say petite. I would say, I mean, not like the most petite, medium.
Yeah. You're right in the middle. You're right in the middle. Petite medium. You're not like tiny bone structure, tiny, but you're small bone structure. And yeah, you're that petite medium. You're definitely not medium. So yeah, petite medium, middle. Yeah. Medium. All right. Next question from Poogs. That's a cool name. Poogs. Poogs. That's cool. It is, what are your plans for the Olympia?
To win. It's a joke. I wish
I was like, what should
that
I respond to
arrogant.
this?
Dude, I wish I was that arrogant. Like,
Yeah.
like the guys are. Like the men are savage. They would totally be like that. But in all seriousness,
It's so different, right? It's so different.
yes.
Yeah.
So my plans for Olympia, I do want to. That will be the priority this year. Whereas in the previous years, especially last year, you asked me, would you rather get to 50 wins or win the Olympia? And I think I even said it on this podcast. I said, I'd rather get like 50 wins than win the Olympia because no one's gotten 50, but people have won the Olympia. So I definitely focused most of my attention on that last year. And I don't think it hurt my Olympia performance, but maybe this year, if I dedicate more focused time to that specific show, maybe I'll do a little better. We'll see.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that was a crazy year though. You did pretty good. I mean, hey, who knew that was going to go like that? 50 and second at the Olympia.
Yeah. What did I always say? I said, I'd rather get like even 4th place at the Olympia and get 50 wins than to like, and I overshot. So there we go.
That was a crazy year.
I'll take it.
Crazy.
Yes.
So, all right. Next question from Ernestito. I like that too. These are some cool names. How eager are you to get back on stage?
I am really eager to get back on stage, but at the same time, to be honest, it is so hard on that first show to get like fully in the zone, to get fully focused. It's like prepping for the first show of the year is the hardest one for me because it's like, I don't know. It's almost like I need to compete and feel it to like get excited about it again. It's like a little wake up.
It is that way. It for sure is that way.
The first show of the year is always the toughest to get in the zone, to get focused. But man, once you get me on stage, it's like I can't get off.
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing.
Now you can't hold me back. Once the ball is rolling.
Yeah, every year, that first year, I'm just waiting for that like instant kick in where it's like routine, and there's no question about it, and it's like that first prep, worst prep, right? It's like you're just getting in the zone. And then, then you just are rolling after that though.
See, people might not know that because they think that I'm like, so just ready all the time. Mentally, we're like, it's so hard right now to like, all right, I'm going to compete soon. Like, it's like, it almost feels not like it's not reality yet, until I actually step on stage and it's like, okay, this is what we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. I think people can relate to it as when they don't have a show deadline, it's harder for them to stay dedicated to a goal. Some people just need a show deadline and they might not be ready for a show, but like, I just need a show to pick a show and I need to focus on it. Even if it's like 6 months away, I'll be dedicated. But if they don't have that, they can't do so well. But in your scenario, you don't have any show deadlines besides the Olympia. That's like
show options. That's the thing.
And so it's like, if I'm not ready for this one, there's this one. There's this one.
And then the next week. And like my lifestyle is great for that because I could literally just be like, okay, I'm not doing anything next week. I'll just do this. Or, I can kind of call the shots on that. I'm not like I do have a few dates where I have like a seminar or something that I won't be able to do it. But yeah, my lifestyle allows me to like, I can do it next week, which is good, but also for the scenario, it's like, it's not helping the case.
Yeah, it's almost the same thing as the person who doesn't have a show deadline because you technically don't. Besides the Olympia, you don't have a deadline. You technically you don't have to do anything until 6 months from now. So I get it. I get it. But then once you do, you're like, okay, I got to get back out there and start.
Then it's like that's when Adam has to slow me down. Like Ashley.
Yeah. Somewhere in the 6 week before the Olympia marker, I'm like, do we really need to do a show right now? Like, why are we even talking about this right now? All right, cool. So next question comes in. Oh, this is Poogs again. Poogs has got 2 today.
Dang. Come with the fire question.
As Poogs does. All right.
Shout out to Poogs.
Shout out to Poogs. That's the coolest name. I hope that's like her actual nickname. That's cool. What's up? I'm Poog. You don't ever call me Poog. That's like a cool thing. You ever have a nickname like when you were running or anything like that?
AK-47.
Was it?
Yeah.
They called you that? That's cool.
That was on the back of my hoodie anyway.
Everyone called me Bo or Adam Bo. That was it. It was a Bo or Adam Bo. That was always the thing. All right. So what's your carb up pump? I'm sorry. What's your pump up carb? What's your carb up? That's my dyslexia coming in. All right. So what's your pump up carb? So me, you, yeah. All right. So, all right. I like this question because it leads into a bigger thing of questions, right? Which is, how much do the carbs actually affect you backstage, right? How much are those carbs actually affecting you? So I think people overestimate the backstage thing, and even a lot of times the day of show things. You know, if you're now, and this comes from bodybuilding, is where it comes from. If you're a bodybuilder backstage where you're showing cross striations in your quads and you're showing like the most amount of detail, and you have like, you know, you have sips of water for 24 hours, you're just barely drinking water, and you're super, super tight. Those little things have bigger impact on you because you could see those little things. But if you're a bikini competitor, you should not be that lean. You should not be that strided, and you should not be crazy dehydrated where those things are going to show up on your body. Where if you ate 20 carbs backstage versus 50, it's a significant difference. Like it's not that big of a deal what you're going to eat backstage. Everyone always worries about backstage and they never talk about Thursday, Friday. It's always backstage. I'm like, hey, if you show up on Saturday and you're not ready, sorry, you're not ready. You're not, there's nothing you could do to get ready
That
if you show
rice
up on
cake
Saturday.
ain't gonna save you.
Yeah.
Even with that tablespoon of honey, that rice cake not gonna save you. Even perfectly timed at 30 minutes.
You know, 30 minutes, it's like an alarm. Like, well, I don't know when the C division is gonna finish, so I don't know what should I? I'm like, stop, stop. The carbs you're worried about today were consumed on Thursday and Friday morning. Like, that's the carbs that are you should be worried about. So Thursday and Friday, if your show's on Saturday, Thursday and Friday are the most important days. And honestly, I think Thursday is more important than Friday in most scenarios, because I don't want to give someone so many carbs on Friday where it's like showing up on their waistline still on Saturday. So I personally would like doing, if I'm doing a carb load on that person, if I'm doing a back load, where it's a Thursday, Friday load, I personally like the Thursday day being like the most important, where we're loading and kind of jamming the carbs. Fridays, okay, let's make sure they're right. Let's make sure that they have enough. If they still need a lot, and I made a mistake yesterday, then okay, I guess I still will jam a bunch of carbs in, hopefully in the earlier part of the day. And then Friday night, I'm chilling with carbs. Saturday, it's like, it's done. Like, you wake up, you're going to have your meal, but there's not that much that's going to change, and it's not because of any reason that I'm trying to be safe or not miss or be super conservative on Saturday. Any of those reasons. The reason is that the time frame of what it takes for a carb to fully digest, go through the system, get into the muscle, and be where it's going to have an effect on the body is longer than the frame that you have generally. So, you know, if you wake up and you're eating a meal, let's say at 9 o'clock, and you're expecting that meal to be in your muscles, in your glute muscle by, you know, perfectly settled and just plumped up in the glute by noon, like, you don't understand how food digests, you know, especially if you're backstage and you're like, oh, I got 30 minutes to go. I'm going to eat this rice cake and it's going to go right to my glute pump. Like, good luck. It's not how it works. So just based on the digestion rates and how long it's going to take, I would say stop worrying so much about being backstage and eating the right things. Now you want to, of course, you want to have carbs in your system. You want to make sure you're not going flat, but the day of Saturday is like, just make sure she's holding up. Let's just make sure she's holding up, make sure she's not going flat. Let's make sure that all those carbs stay in the muscle. The body's not taking carbs out of the muscle. So she has energy to get throughout the day where the body's not taking them out of the muscle. But it's not really like, let's eat these carbs 30 minutes before you get on stage, because those carbs, those ones specifically, are the ones that are going to be in the muscle, making you look round and full. I would say I think the stress of the day of you worrying so much about carb timing has more of an effect on you than the actual carb timing. And it would be better if everyone would just relax and enjoy the day and understand that everything's done at this point. And I'm just kind of maintaining. Yeah, I'm just kind of maintaining. But my high stress levels of worrying about backstage, because it might not be you, Poog. I'm talking about other girls. They'll worry so much about their carbs backstage. Oh, well, I don't know what time they're running late. They're running late. They're supposed to go on at 11 and they're going on at 1. And my carbs I already ate my pump up meal because I thought I'm like, you're fine. Like, the carbs in you right now are in you for the rest of the day. And they're actually in you from Thursday. So we're good. Like, you're good. Like, don't worry. So I would like to relieve that stress from everyone more so than be like, this is your perfect carb pump and like BS you with that, because that's not really the digestion rates of a carb backstage to on stage it's not in the muscle like that. So there you go. Long way about going about it. But just Saturday, when you wake up, that's pretty much how you're going to look, unless you really mess things up. It is not a day where you're going to be like, okay, now it's time to fill out. I'm on stage in 4 hours. I'm like, good luck with that. You really messed up like that. Yeah, sorry, if you're not ready on Saturday, you're not ready. That's just how it goes. You wake up the way you look on Saturday, and you're 99% of the way you're going to look. That's pretty much how it's going to go.
Do you think it's safe to say that hydration plays a bigger impact than carbs on show day?
Yeah, 100%.
Because I feel that way.
No,
obviously,
100%.
like, because if I like go all day, obviously without drinking any water, I'm going to have a flat look on me, right? Versus like if I start the day drinking more water, a better effect. So in my experience, I'm more concerned about the water I drink, especially on show day, than I am a carb.
Yep. And that's going to have a lot to do with just like your blood, your blood thickness too. If you're super dehydrated, your blood is going to be super thick. You're going to have less total blood volume. It's going to be harder to get good pumps. So you have to find that kind of that perfect balance. And remember, in bikini, you shouldn't be worried about the like dehydrating to the point where you're having an issue with that. Like you should be hydrated as a bikini competitor because you're not trying to get deep grooves in the muscle and deep striations. So if you're cutting water, it's going to be a now I understand tapering it down a little bit, but cutting it, doing all these diuretics, things like that, that shouldn't be a bikini thing. You should just get leaner. So if you're someone who's having to do that, you should probably look at maybe I'm needing to be leaner instead of trying to like pull the water at the end. So that would be, yes, you would be right on that. So, and that's why you have like people who have health issues when they're dehydrating a lot, is just that it's harder on the heart to pump less blood volume. So because there's less blood and they still have to pump blood to the same amount of blood to the muscles, well, now the heart has to work harder because there's less blood, there's less volume available of blood. So it means harder, more pumping, and it's pumping thicker oil-like blood versus watery blood, right? And that's why you see people running into all these issues with that and other issues, but that's one of the major reasons. It's just really hard on the heart to, decrease your total blood volume hydration wise by 40%, and now your blood still needs to get to the organs at the same rate, right? And then so your heart's pumping way harder. So that's just something that we don't need to do in bikini, luckily. And even now in bikini, with it being leaner, we still don't need to really do that. So, but yes, hydration will be a big part of that. So more important than anything that day, because everything should also start to be done. If you're not carb loaded and not ready on Saturday, guys, nothing you're going to do on Saturday is going to really change that. It's just, I mean, I guess you could take a super fast digesting carb and pray for it, but it's like 6 hours. I don't even know if you took like a super fast digesting carb, if it would even hit that window where it would like fully get, that would be tough. That would be really tough. Yeah. I mean, luckily I've never been in that scenario where I've had to like, oh crap, we're super, like, cause you could see it by Friday. You might overshoot on Thursday, but by Friday you could see it and you just make up for it. So Saturday, if they're under, it's like barely any. And I guess I'm trying to think of like, maybe you could use like a HBCD carb and maybe get in there faster enough, like 6 hour window. I don't know if it would be in the muscle, ready in the muscle by then. That'd be pretty tough to like really time that. And I don't know what rate you could get it into. Is it like maybe if you're off by 10% and you got 10% more, gosh, I'd have to look at that. That would be, nothing I want to mess with. I'll tell you that. I wouldn't want to be ready. I don't want to mess with that. You could see the problems, because then you have to run into water timing too with those carbs, because the carbs you won't absorb the carbs without water. Carbs need water to absorb. So how do you water time that with them, making sure that's all digested, like not making their waistline bigger, like you're jumping into a whole different thing on Saturday if you're trying to load carbs like to get a specific look Saturday. Even at like 10%, I think it's pretty risky to do. I don't know. I've never tried it for obvious reasons. That'd be gambling with people's success to even try to do that, but it's not my style. Maybe there's someone out there who's figured it out. I don't see it. Just be safe. Just go Thursday and Friday with your carbs, and Saturday, just you look how you look. That it is what it is. You should be ready by Saturday when you wake up, by 99% of the way there. All right. Now that leads us into another peak week question. Would you go for it?
Yeah.
All right.
Peak week strategy for back-to-back shows. Thank you for submitting the question, Daria.
Yeah.
So, wow, we do a lot of this, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And
I think you have extreme expertise in back-to-back peak weeks, I'd say.
I would say, yeah.
Really good practice.
Yeah. Yeah. You do make it, you do over the years, you've changed my system a little bit of how I will look at things, because I know what we can do now from a frequency standpoint, right? So yeah, it does create a lot of learning opportunities there, that's for sure. And it's great. It's also helped with, okay, knowing, okay, she can still grow in the off season while staying relatively lean. Like there's all these things that we've kind of figured out too, that aren't just genetic, not just your genetics, which we've talked about before. Genetically, your structure is awesome, but genetically you're not like the gifted muscle builder,
True that.
And there's genetically, you're not the easiest fat loser,
True.
So like, people are like, oh, genetics. I'm like, structurally, yeah, her genetics are crazy. But when we talk about actual,
it's not been easy.
Yeah. The way we think of genetics is like, we think of, oh, everything's just easy for that girl. You aren't the best muscle builder, but for sure, you might be below average in muscle building. Like in terms of muscle building,
more insulted.
Like if you took,
I would say I'm okay.
No,
so I would say
average
to the average person, though.
Okay, bodybuilder wise, if you took the top girl who was like just puts on muscle, and it's like, well, you better stop working out. Like you see these girls who are 2 minutes from and then you take the bottom girl who never gets muscular. No, if you take the bottom girl, no, you'd have to be at least average. If you take the bottom girls, those girls don't grow. I've had a few of them where I'm like, yeah. Thank God Fit Model came out. I know you've been working out for 5 years, but thank God Fit Model came out, because some girls just don't grow. Now you'd be no, because your glutes did grow pretty good too. So you'd be a little bit above average. Okay. Being fully fair. Cause I'm thinking now I had to think about the girls who don't grow and like put you in that window, and the girls who grew like crazy. You're definitely not them, but yeah, no, you'd be like a little better, because the glutes did grow. The hamstrings are really easy. The shoulders might be a little below.
Shoulders are below average.
That might be below. That'd be the only one.
Yeah.
Your arms, when you work out your arms, they do grow pretty good. Your abs, you can't touch. Yeah. Okay. You're back here too. You're back here when you
you broke it down, because if we think of it like body part per body part, there's going to be some that are like above average and some are below. Like hamstrings are above average. Abs are top 10%.
Yeah, abs are too much. You touch the abs. Sometimes you touch your abs and it's like a month of like, oh man, like I hope we don't compete for a month, because they're just too crazy.
But the shoulders, man,
the shoulders, I would say a little bit below average.
Yes,
everything
else are lagging.
The lats grew pretty fast too, honestly. Because you weren't really, when bikini, like before, the lats weren't a concern, so you weren't really training them that much. And then when you started training, they did grow pretty fast. I would say that too. So okay, there you go.
So all that to say, you're going to have muscles that are going to be
better than others. Yeah,
better than others.
That was a good way of coming up.
And also just know that you don't have to be the best muscle builder to be successful in the sport.
Yes.
And maybe you are a good muscle builder, but it's the wrong kind of muscle too, because you can build the wrong kind and it doesn't look good. So the non-pretty muscle is what you call it, right?
Yes.
Pretty muscle versus ugly muscle
versus dense striated muscles. I think of it as, so both muscles get big, which is what we want, but people don't understand the differences. And I say the difference is you want a muscle in bikini to get big, like you're filling a water balloon with water, versus bigger, like you're getting just more larger portions of steak. Larger portions of steak where you see that deep groove in the muscle. You don't want too much of that steak looking muscle. You want that just fill it up more with water. That's a pretty muscle, the round, pretty muscle without the deep sausage muscles. It is. That's a good sausage. There's
sausage
chorizo muscles.
Versus steak.
Chorizo muscles. That's what it is. That's so funny. You always take it to the next, but to the funny level. That's a good one. You want a sausage muscle, that's better. That's so much better than water balloon. Why did I think of that? Sausage versus steak. That's great.
Kind of like, it's deceiving though, because you would think you'd want steak, but
you don't want those deep grooved, detailed muscles for a bikini. So, all right, that's the new thing, the sausage muscles. So, peak week strategy. We didn't even get to the question. Peak week strategy.
So back to the question.
Yeah, so back to the question 10 minutes later. What did we even talk about? Oh, your genetics. That's okay. Yeah, okay. So back to the insulting genetics.
I'm only kidding.
I know.
I like to think I'm pretty self-aware.
No, I had to think about it. You're right. You had to think about it though, because when you have someone who doesn't grow, it's so tough. It sucks too, because they want it so bad and they try so hard. The girls who don't grow sometimes work out so much harder than the girls that do. I think it's a thing of like, they just start building this tolerance to, I need it. I know I need to grow. So they just hammer it all the time. And then they just end up being this like super workouter girl. Right. And they're just like lifting like crazy. And then you see the girl who grows so easily, they just don't put that much, like they're kind of like doing their sets and they're like, oh yeah, put it up, put it down, do my 10 reps. And I'm like, wait, you look like that doing that? Like, how did you even do that? And they're just like, oh, you're a top 10% grower. Like, and the bottom 10% is like, rah, the gym crushing it. So, all right, peak week strategies for real this time. All right, peak week. I would say if you're doing your peak weeks not so extreme, there's really not that hard to do it. If you're doing these crazy extreme peak weeks where you have a lot of variables that as soon as you eat something after the show, it causes everything to go away and your water retention is like crazy. That's when you run into issues. But if you're just doing like the basic peak week things where you're, reducing carbs in the earlier part of the week, adding carbs in the later part of the week, doing your show without, diuretics or cutting water like crazy the day of the show, it's not really that much of a difference where your body's going to have to go through this crazy like recalibration of getting back to homeostasis or anything like that. It's just, oh, I had a few less carbs on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I had a few more carbs on Thursday, Friday. My body is perfectly normal on even Saturday, Sunday. There's not really, then you just go back to having a few, it's almost like a carb cycle more than it is a crazy peak week, and I think probably the biggest thing to take from this and everything I've said today is that peak week doesn't like, just get in shape, just get in shape. You don't need this crazy pump up backstage. You should already be loaded with carbs and look ready. You don't need this crazy peak week if you're in shape. The people who like need these crazy peak weeks are like still desperately trying to get in shape at the end. And they're like, oh, I needed to deplete like crazy Monday through Wednesday. And, I ate basically nothing like Monday through Wednesday and did another 90 minutes, 2 hours of cardio to get that last bit of fat off of me. And then I loaded carbs and I'm like, yeah, you're going to be in a lot less predictable place if you're doing that because you haven't had carbs for, 10 weeks. And now we're hoping that Thursday's carbs your body just takes them in and goes right to the muscle and doesn't hold a bunch of water and digests them right and all this. But we haven't had carbs for 10 weeks. You haven't had carbs since, Saturday doing 2 hours of cardio. And we're hoping that the inflammation goes down in your legs by Saturday of this show when you only had 2 days of not doing that much cardio. Like it's a lot to ask of the body. So I would say if you want predictable, repeatable peak weeks, just don't do that much, just, reduce your carbs a little bit, eat some clean foods that week to make sure the digestion's right. Have a little bit of extra carbs if you need them on Thursdays, Fridays to fill out the muscles and make sure you're right. But your conditioning alone, your body fat levels alone should be what's doing that. It shouldn't be the manipulation of carbs and water and diuretics and meal timing backstage and all these things. It should just be like, oh, I was in shape on Monday. I was in shape 4 weeks before the show, basically. And I'm in shape on the day of the show and a little bit better. I'm a little bit fuller now. Like that's literally what it should be. And then the next show, you're like, okay, I'm a little bit more in shape this show because I did the exact same things as I did the last time. And I just cut my carbs a little bit Sunday through Wednesday after the show. And I ate a little bit, maybe more carbs this time, Thursday and Friday, and I'm good to go. And I want to do another show next weekend too. It should be pretty easy. But if you're like throwing all these variables at your body, your sodium's completely gone this week. You're taking a diuretic, you're cutting your water the day of the show, you're doing 2 hours of cardio and you're hoping the inflammation goes down. You're changing all your supplements last minute. You're adding carbs back in that you haven't had for 10 weeks. Yeah, of course, it's going to be really hard to repeat that for a predictable outcome on the next week. Of course, when it comes to introducing foods again on Sunday or whatever, if you have a cheat meal, of course, the body's going to go like crazy and blow up and have things that it hasn't had because maybe you had gluten or you had lactose or something you haven't eaten. And you had a high amount of sodium because any amount of sodium is high to you right now because you haven't had any for 2 weeks, so that's where you run into these problems. But if you don't do that, you don't have problems,
Yeah. So from my experience of the peak weeks, there's a few things that you have to keep in mind. And that post-show treat meal, that is you got to be very careful.
That's a big one.
Not because of the fat. Like, I don't think you're going to gain 5 pounds of body fat after eating a meal, right? But what will happen is maybe the sodium increase there, some gluten that you haven't had in a while, or just in general, things that your body isn't used to. And you can have like a little bit of a reaction to it. And sometimes it'll take a little longer for your body to digest that, get rid of the water retention. So you might swell up a little bit, and that can kind of play with how you actually look going to your next show, which means like, okay, if you have a really like crazy salty meal on Saturday with a lot of carbs, you had a milkshake or something, and then you check in, and then you are 5 pounds up, you're watery. It's so hard to see how much of that is water and what do you actually look like under there, how many carbs do you actually need. So you need to keep it consistent. Just going with what you said, keeping it all consistent can create a more predictable result. Also with the workouts, if you're going to do peak weeks back to back, you're not going to have the luxury of being able to take it easier as you would just doing one show, right? Because you have other shows to think about. You have another show after that. So you have to kind of get back to your regular lifting pretty much on Monday after you get back. And ideally Sunday, if you can move around a little bit or get a little bit of a pump, that will be best. But, that's kind of what you have to do when you're going week to week. And with the tan, everyone always is confused about how to get the tan off, or do I keep the tan?
That's the hardest part.
Yeah.
About all. Yeah.
I think that is a very underestimated, uncomfortable thing about peak weeks back to back, because your skin, my skin at least, is screaming.
Yeah.
Because it's scrubbing, I'm exfoliating, I'm getting tan, I have to shave. Like it's in that any tan product you use is gonna dry your skin out a little bit. So, oh my gosh, it's so itchy and uncomfortable, and you have to like lather yourself in lotion 24/7. But basically, from what I hear from all the tan companies I've heard speak at seminars and things like that, they will usually suggest athletes that are going back to back to shows, just to scrub off as what they can, but don't worry about getting it all off. And don't worry about going so hard to where you're creating irritation on your skin. They just want an even canvas. So even if it's a very light tan, they just want it to be nice and even. Okay. And maybe, scrubbing a little more around your elbows and knees to get that residual off. But, yeah, don't try to get it all off, because you're probably going to turn into a giant scab.
Yeah, that's what I see a lot. And then the rough skin absorbs that tan way worse.
Yes, yeah. And then you create a little rough patch on your skin because you scrub so much. And then when you put the tan on, it'll stick to it like a scab. So yeah, be careful.
Yeah, I think that's another good point you bring up is if the one issue that you'll run into. So even if you have, so the first part would be have modest peak weeks, if you're someone who has to have very aggressive peak weeks and you just have to have them, because there's those people out there that just have to have crazy peak weeks to get in shape. And if you're someone like that, I would say if you're an amateur, it's a little easier, because if you're a pro, it's really tough because you got to be perfect like every time. But if you're an amateur, it's a little easier. And let's say you have to do, some of these countries have regional show you have to do to go to a whatever show. And that show kind of doesn't matter how they place. It's just, they just need to do it, period, to be able to do like a pro qualifier. And a lot of countries have that. Oh, you got to do a regional show before you can do that, whatever. You have that. I mean, pretty much everywhere but here, honestly. And so if that's the case, just walk on stage that day and be in shape. Don't worry about so much peaking perfectly for it. You should be close to in shape anyway. And then you do your perfect peak week on the pro qualifier. And I know it sucks because you're not bringing your absolute best, but remember, you're a tough peaker. Like I'd much rather be perfect at the pro qualifier than the show that really doesn't matter. Yeah, it'd be cool to win both of them, but if it's a week later, then do what you got to do to win that pro card. Do the one that's more important. And I've done that with my athletes before too. I'm like, hey, you're just going to kind of show up. We'll give you some carbs the day before the show, just load you a little bit. And you're kind of just going to show up because you're competing again in 6 days or whatever it is. Cause sometimes it's like that. It'll be Sunday will be that one. And then Saturday will be the pro qualifier. And so it's like, hey, you do what you got to do, and it is what it is. But another issue that like we'll run into is if Ashley's competing too often, or if there's such thing as too often, but if Ashley is competing often, the workout intensity is going to go down during peak week because you don't want to be you can't, work out like crazy on Friday and expect to not have any like fluid retention on the, let's say tie-in or something like an important muscle group on Saturday. So you got to kind of decrease the intensity of the workouts a little bit that week, hoping that you're recovering and you can get that, that tight look that they want. And if you're doing 3 shows in a row, then we're talking, 3 weeks of not working out hard. How do you look as full on a Saturday? That's a tougher question. So then in that scenario, I will say, your backstage pump is going to matter a lot more. But even then, having that fullness is going to be tough 3 weeks in a row if you haven't worked out hard for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Having that like round hard look.
That's why I mentioned like on Monday, I try my best to get a good workout. Yeah. Now it's not going to be, it's, I do what I can.
Yeah.
in scenarios like this, I do what I can, but I'm well aware that is not going to be my best workout just because I just completed a show the previous weekend and I got another one to focus on. So it's like, just know that it might not, after, the 3rd week in a row, it might not be your best show, but doing the way you suggested, like maybe doing a half kind of peak week and then going for your actual full peak week, basically choosing which show is more important is very helpful. And we do that too. So like, let's say we have 3 shows in a row and we know that one show is way bigger and way more important than the others. We focus that to be our main peak week. So we will kind of maybe take the other ones a little lighter to set up the perfect peak week for our more important show.
Yeah. And that goes to show you too, even at this level, if you're ready, you're ready. It's not like a huge peak week shouldn't be, I guess that's what it should come down to too, is for people to understand is peak week shouldn't be this giant difference of what you look like now versus the day of the show. Like it shouldn't be so dramatic. It should just be, oh, she's a little fuller. She looks a little fuller, a little tighter. It looks rested and recovered and looks good. Like she looked good on Monday, but she looks a little better today. But it's not like, oh my gosh, she looks like Ashley Cotwalser today. And she looks like some amateur that just walked in the gym last week. Like it's not like this miracle, it's just, you just fine tuning it. You're just, hey, a little bit fuller, maybe a little bit tighter, nice tan, good to go. That's it, guys. It's not like, and I think where a lot of times where it comes from is, it comes from the bodybuilding world. And this is where I always tell girls, don't confuse the two, because bodybuilding is its own thing. We compete on the same stages, or you girls compete on the same stages. I don't do it with you guys. You girls compete on the same stages, but it's basically a different sport, the bodybuilding versus bikini. And when people see what bodybuilders do and they're like, oh, well, they're doing this, they're coming in super tight here or whatever, understand that you don't need to look like that. And therefore you don't need to do what it takes to get like that, because it won't help you if you actually did end up like that. If you were that lean and that muscular and cross-strided, it would hurt you. You wouldn't be helping yourself in any way. So it's just a different thing. So I would, it's a luxury that you don't have to do that. So so go with that.
Good stuff.
I'll go one more because it's a little running out of time because it's a quick one from Tough Little Biscuit. Her question is, she says she's 5'0" and reverse dieting. About how many calories would you like me to see someone with a pretty small frame like me before starting a prep? Now I would say
5 foot. Just because 5'0" or 5'0" kind of sounds like she's 50.
5.
But the name should be a giveaway. Tough Little Biscuit.
Tough Little Biscuit. I like that. Hopefully she's like country too and has like biscuits, because that just makes more sense. I
love biscuits.
Oh man, biscuits, so good.
Oh man, I forgot about biscuits. I just now remembered sourdough bread is awesome, and I've been eating that as a carb. I forgot about biscuits.
Sourdough bread.
But I don't think biscuits. I don't know. Is there healthy biscuits out there?
I don't know. But biscuits, like biscuits and gravy, that is such a good one. You know what?
Cracker Barrel.
I was thinking about it. Cracker Barrel.
We should go there one time for after a show or something.
Where was it that we went where there was a Cracker Barrel? We went somewhere.
Yeah, it was in a Cracker Barrel like city. It was like a South Dakota or something.
Was it? Next time we end up, so we're like, we got to go to Cracker Barrel. It's funny. I drove by one not too long ago, and I was thinking, I want to go there again. So do you know that there's a couple that they're an older couple, and it's so cute, like the cutest older couple. Their goal is to go to every Cracker Barrel in the US, and they've gone to like so many of them. Oh. Yeah, it was on Instagram. I'm sure I get these. All these pictures at Cracker Barrel, like the cutest. What a cute little thing, you know.
Aw.
They get to see the world. They get to go to their favorite restaurant. I think it's super cute. You know what I miss too, the sourdough bread. You remind me of this. We're fooding here. Foodieing here. The sourdough bread bowl with like clam chowder in it. You ever did that?
Well, Adam, come on. What'd you just ask me?
You ever do a sourdough?
Finish it.
A sourdough bread bowl with clam chowder in it?
Back up. Do you know me, Adam?
I don't know about you and your clam chowder. Did you do it? I don't know what I'm doing. What I walk into here.
What's the first word there?
Sourdough.
No.
Have you ever?
C?
Clam chowder?
Okay.
Oh, fish.
Fish.
Oh, clam is a fish to you?
It's seafood.
Okay. I guess. But
I'm
it's
just
so
giving you a hard
little.
time.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I'm giving you a hard
But
time.
even that, you've never tried clam chowder?
No, ew. I don't do any seafood. No.
I guess I never put that together. I guess you're right. Because I put that kind of in the shrimp thing where it's like so much
the closest thing I will get to any seafood is those little seaweed squares. They sell at Trader Joe's.
Oh, yeah.
The little seaweed papers at Trader Joe's.
I can't believe you've never tried clam chowder either. Like clam and shrimp, I feel like don't really count as like a fish.
Seafood.
Yeah.
Seafood.
Shrimp is so good. You haven't had, tell me you've had shrimp though. Never?
I think I've smelt it. And
you've never had shrimp. Can you do me this favor just once?
Adam, don't tell me this.
I'll trade with you. I'll have a drink, which I don't do. I'll have a drink in exchange for you trying shrimp. You have to eat the whole thing. Just a shrimp. It's totally different.
Here's the thing. Everyone will always say, oh, try this, insert random seafood. You'll love it. It doesn't taste like seafood or it tastes like chicken or whatever.
I think
I always taste seafood. Always. So, I mean, I
get it because they do that with me with drinking.
It's
because you haven't had the right drink or you should try this drink. And all of them, I'm the same way.
You don't have to have a drink, but I will try it for you.
You will do it?
I will, but not the whole thing.
Okay. Though. If I don't have to do anything exchange, I'll take a
texture. I've touched one. At least I've touched one.
I can't believe
and they're
it.
Weird. They touched.
There's so many weird, like little things that you haven't
I'm so
done.
picky, guys.
Like you still haven't watched Peter Pan. That's crazy to me. That's crazy. That's a crazy one. Peter Pan, right? That was the one? Peter Pan.
Watched Peter Pan.
Oh, I feel like you're missing out. But hey, you know?
I think I grew up just fine, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's just one of those things that I don't know. I love Peter Pan. I like Peter Pan. It's a good one. Yeah, there's a few movies that you haven't, and then the shrimp and clam chowder really do blow my mind that you've been able to make it this far in life without even I feel like even like on a random Tuesday night, I've accidentally swallowed a shrimp. Like, how have you not at least like accidentally ate a shrimp? Oh my gosh. All right. That's cool. I think that one, if you can go into it with an open mind, you can have that one. I think you'd be able to do it. It's a lot different.
See.
Well, we'll take into account who I'm talking to. So maybe not, but I think so. But clam chowder is it's a bad soup. Like in terms of calorie
broccoli
wise.
cheddar though, and French onion, broccoli cheddar, French onion soup bowls. Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, back to it.
Yeah, but the clam chowder is pretty high in fat, so it's not the best soup anyway. But anyway, all right. Wow, no shrimp. I just didn't even put that together. That is crazy. But I will say clams on their own is gross. I would never recommend it for someone who's like sensitive to fish, even though I've had it. But in the soup, it's totally different. But all right. What was the question? Oh yeah, Fit Little Biscuit. That's right. Fit Little Biscuit. We've done this a lot today. Yes. Is it me? It's me, right?
No, it's me. I that was my fault, that last one.
Okay. I feel like it's always me. All right. So
See, Kimber in the comments said she's never tried clam chowder either.
What? This is my
See,
wife.
I'm not. See, Adam.
This is that.
Look at you.
That's me. That's me
game.
as a bad husband, not providing.
Well, it looks like
clam
you're
chowder.
going to Red Lobster.
My job
tonight.
as a husband is to provide and protect, and I haven't provided
date
any clam
at
chowder.
Red Lobster. You guys are having date night at Red Lobster.
That's bad. That exposes me. That exposes me as a bad husband. Provide and protect. I need to take her to the best clam chowder that I've had is from Crab Cooker in Southern California. It's really good.
I mean, that's quite a drive, but
I mean, the poor woman married this guy who doesn't even provide her with clam chowder. I mean, she deserves.
Could they DoorDash it?
I would pay for it at this point. I didn't know she hasn't had that. That's pretty. Maybe it's because I grew up close to the beach. It's common. Maybe that's the scenario. She says no. All right. So back to this question. Fit Little Biscuit. All right. There is your question. I should repeat the question for everyone who's listening because I'm going off on a tangent. I feel like this is how someone would act when they're on, like if they didn't take their medication that kept them from doing this. Like an ADHD medication
I'm not helping you.
that I didn't take today or something. I don't do that, but maybe I should. I don't know. All right. So Tough Little Biscuit. I'm 5'0" and reverse dieting before I start prep. I'm 5 foot reverse diet before I start prep. About how many calories do you like to see someone with a pretty small frame like me starting a prep? I would say I wouldn't put a calorie marker on it. It is all relative to how many calories you burn. Some people, even smaller, bigger, just burn crazy amount of calories. I would say we want to get as close to your metabolic capacity. So that is basically the highest amount of calories you could burn, your body can burn, possible before starting a prep. So that's, that might take a little while, but you might be there already. It's hard to say. So basically you want to push the calories and keep pushing the calories, but in a way where you're not gaining any body fat or minimally gaining body fat when you're going through that kind of gaining period. And wherever you kind of stop at calorie wise, where your body just is like, okay, anything past these calories is where I'm storing fat. That's kind of like where your metabolic capacity currently is. And, it changes as you add muscle, as hormones, whatever, but at least try to get as high calories as you can where you're at that point where you're not gaining body fat. And then that's when you reach it. But you don't want to undershoot either and living in a deficit. But you just want to be at that perfect range where you're, maintenance calories plus a little, and, you reach that capacity, metabolic capacity, like the fastest rate at which you can burn calories. So there you go.
Oop.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of sourdough bread. Sourdough bread is go-to carb. Another one from Tina. She loves it.
It reminds me because I was at Chris's seminar, the Center Podium Mega seminar a few weeks ago, and he just happened to mention that like sourdough bread was a superior carbohydrate. And I was like, dang, I forgot about sourdough bread. And then I started eating it. I'm like, oh, dang.
Huh.
It's good stuff.
Who said what? Someone
Chris
said, oh yeah.
Yeah.
What did he give a reasoning behind that?
I can't remember what he said,
but
he just mentioned it. And I was like,
oh. If he just liked it, it was making like a joke, or maybe it is, maybe there's something in it.
It is superior. He made an argument that it was superior in some way. I can't remember.
Huh. That's interesting.
You can Google it.
There's always like a food. Or
yeah. There's always an argument for like everything. But this is good and this isn't good.
I haven't heard that one though. I wonder what the reasoning would be. I don't know the process. I don't know the process of the making of sourdough bread and how it differs from, regular bread. So I guess there's something there. That'd be kind of fun.
We should do a whole podcast episode on bread.
Let's do
and have like different breads.
I was just saying like just a bread
breads laying everywhere.
That's one of my favorite things to do. Go to the restaurants for. It's like different breads they have, especially in Vegas. Me and Kimber's a bready.
Oh,
she's a bready. Like it's crazy. Yeah. Like if there's a foodie, like there's another level of just bread connoisseur, like that's her. There's but all these different restaurants out in Vegas, and we go to all the time, and the breads are different. There's a Italian restaurant which I haven't gone to, but they actually come out with a bread cart. Ooh. And you pick, and it's all free, and you pick any bread you want off that cart, and it's all fresh made there. That's the one I have, but I feel like I would ruin my whole breakfast there, my whole dinner there. Mm-hmm. Like I do at like Mexican restaurants with tortilla chips, because I'm like full by the time the food gets there because I ate 6 tortillas worth of tortilla chips. Mm-hmm. And then I feel terrible about it. So, so anyway, guys, that was fun. All right. Anything else we got?
I think that's all. We do have some questions here that are really good, but we're running out of time. So we'll just have to kind of defer those to the next time. So we need to write these down or screenshot it some way, because I know the comments will disappear once it gets published. So, but anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I think that's all we have for today, right?
Yes.
All right. Well, keep those questions coming, and maybe we'll do more of these little mini topic, I guess, lightning round things.
Yeah.
I don't know what
I'll take my medication next week so I can stay on topic. Thank you guys. Bye.